Hi everyone. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the distributive property for Algebra 1. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ryan. Welcome to my channel Math with RG, where I am so passionate to give away free material for everyone so people can learn this math and really just get down to it. All right, so here we go. Distributive property. Let's do this. So, what is the distributive property? So, the very first example says, evaluate using the distributive property. So, distributive property, I like to think about it as like, let's say you're hosting a pizza party for your friends, and you take out the pizza and the friends line up, and each person gets a slice of pizza. Right? So each thing in the group is receiving something, right? So when you look at this, now in this example, they wrote the 6, this is number 37, they wrote the 6 on the right-hand side. I don't like it when they do that. I just like to see things on the left-hand side. So we could rewrite it real quick. 6 parenthesis 2 plus 3. Now, they want you to use the distributive property. I know in order of operations, normally you would do the parentheses first, right? So you'd go 2 plus 3, that's 5, and then you do 6 times 5. Well, here we're going to demonstrate that we know what distributive property is. So it literally means we're going to multiply the 6 to the 2 and to the 3. For those of you who don't know, when there's a number or a variable on the outside of a parenthesis, right next to it, it means multiplication. Okay, so what is 6 times 2? That's 12. And then we still have the plus. And then what is 6 times 3? That's 18. What is 12 plus 18? That's 30. And that is our final answer. All right, let's do one more example using a negative. So here's where you got to be careful. So notice how it says negative 2 times 5 minus 3. So we still have to distribute the negative 2 by multiplying it to each thing. So it's negative 2 times 5, and then it's negative 2 times what? I'll give you a moment to think about it. This is where most students make a mistake. Okay, so if you said negative 2 times negative 3, you would be correct. Now, people confuse when it says 5 minus 3, and then they say, well, it doesn't say negative 3, it just says minus 3. Well, actually, they're the same thing. They're the same thing. So, we got to do negative 2 times 5. Here we go. What happens when you do a negative times a positive? You get a negative. So we have negative 10. Then we're doing negative 2 times negative 3. That's negative times negative, so you get a positive. So that's positive 6. Okay. Now we have negative 10 plus 6. Now the way I like to explain this is negative means, I like to think about money. So negative means you borrowed money, right? So let's say you wanted to buy something for $10, you didn't have $10, so you borrowed money from a friend. So you are negative $10, okay? Let's say the next day you go to pay that friend back, but you only have $6. So the friend says, okay, I'll take your $6, right? But you still owe me what, right? So if I borrowed $10 and then I only gave back $6, that means I still owe my friend $4. So if I'm in debt or I owe someone money, that's negative. And that is our final answer for that. Okay, so now we've got a couple more examples here. So this time we're going to be using variables. So it says rewrite using distributive property and then simplify. Okay, so we're doing the same thing, except for this time we have variables, so we can't we can't get like a number answer like we did before. So we have 3 times x, and then we have 3 times 2. So 3 times x literally just means there are 3 x's. So we just write them next to each other. And then we have 3 times 2. So that is plus 6. Now it says simplify, but we can't simplify this any further. Why can't we simplify it any further? Because we have 3x, and then we have positive 6. X and 6 don't go together, right? They're not like terms. I can only do x's plus x's, or numbers plus numbers, but I can't do an x plus a number. I can only multiply an x by a number. So since they are not like terms, this is our final answer. All right, let's do another one with a negative. So again, we have the -3 on the right side. I'm just going to rewrite it so it's on the left side. Visually, I like that better. So we have -3 times 9y. So I'm just going to do the -3 times the 9. So that's -27, and then put the y. And then we have -3 times -6, and that is positive 18. Now again, we have a variable, right? -27y plus 18, just a number, so we cannot combine them because they're not like terms. So that is our final answer. It's an expression. An expression does not have an equal sign. Okay, one more example for the distributive property. We have a word problem. So it says, hey, tutoring, all right. It says, write and evaluate an expression for the number of tutoring lessons Miss Green gives in 4 weeks. And then it gives you this table. And it says tutoring schedule, day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then students. On Monday, she has 3 students. On Tuesday, she has 5 students, and on Wednesday, she has 4 students. So they're just insinuating that this is her whole week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. She doesn't tutor on the other days. Okay, so they want you to write and evaluate an expression. All right, so let's do that. So it says for 4 weeks. Well, we know that 1 week is just going to be this table. So since 1 week is just this table, right, we can put parenthesis 3 plus 5 plus 4. Okay, so that's your Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. 3 students plus 5 students plus 4 students. Okay, so that's our 1 week. Now, again, because I'm using the distributive property, I'm not going to add those together right now because I want to demonstrate distributive property. So we want 4 weeks, so I'm going to put a 4 on the outside. Okay, because again, 1 week would just be what's in the parentheses. I need 4 weeks. So now I'm going to multiply, right? Distribute the 4 to each thing. So we have 4 times 3, and that is 12. We have 4 times 5, and that is 20. And then we have 4 times 4, and that is 16. 12 plus 20 is 32, plus 16 is 48 students. We need to write that because it's a word problem. So 48 students, right? It says, write and evaluate an expression for the number of tutoring lessons Miss Green gives in 4 weeks. So since they said lessons, let's just write 48 lessons. So 48 lessons in 4 weeks. This is my final answer. Great job on finishing today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, tell your friends and family. And if you want to dive deeper into chapter test work, you can check out my Skool platform, skool.com. The link will be in the bio below. And if you want more information on one-on-one tutoring, you can check out my website, rgtutors.com. Thank you again, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye for now.